All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of the Ashish David Show. I'm so super excited that people from all over the world want to connect. But I don't need to go anywhere because the dude I'm interviewing today has already gone to a lot of places and he's done all the traveling. So, he has all the international experience and stuff that you guys want. What is the show about? In case you're listening to this for the first time, you're watching this for the first time. It's a show where people, from different walks of life just come, share their stories, talk about what they've been up to. And hopefully, that gets you guys inspired. And that's apparently what you guys have been liking. I have very little to do with the show. It's actually what my viewers want. That kind of dictates what happens on the show. I'm just like the dude who kind of gets out of the way. I get out of the way. I let you guys do your thing. The guests do their thing. And that's how it works. And without any further ado, I'd like to welcome today's guest, who's a very, very, special guy because of a lot of reasons that you'll discover through the length of the show. Welcome to the show, Rohan Solomon. So, Rohan, welcome firstly to the Ashish David Show.
Thank you, brother.
All right. You're right now in around 65 plus countries. We're on 12 different global platforms. I know you, you know me, but for everybody else who's watching.
Man, I'm a singer-songwriter. For those who don't know, I'm from New Delhi, India. I'm born and brought up in New Delhi, India. And I was very briefly a part of this rock scene that used to exist back in the day. There used to be a scene that used to exist. There was amazing underground bands, and I was a part of one of them called Cyanide. And we were around for about 10 years. We put out a few records. We did shows. We did tours. We were on a reality TV show. And then after that, I wanted to try a slightly lighter pop-ier genre. So I did a solo project as well. So I did 2 albums on my own, and then I kind of got into production. And the last project I did in India before I moved to the US was it was a production of a play that was running on Kingdom of Dreams. It was a play called Wiswits. I think it ran for about 2 years. And I did the music for that along with a friend of mine, Sid Mathur, who's brilliant. He's doing Bollywood movies now. He's killing it. But that was my first sort of venture into production. It's very interesting to being in the studio and being on the other side of things. And I just wanted to learn more about that. And I moved to New York to go to school for audio engineering, and I finally did that, and I just fell in love with the process and got way, way, way deeper into that. And now I'm back with all of that, and I've been putting out new music of my own, so I'm still writing and doing that, and I'm producing for other artists and mixing for other artists, and that type of stuff. Singer, songwriter, producer, audio engineer.
Oh, Rohan, what I loved about what you just said was there used to be a band scene. All right, I like that.
I mean, okay, there probably still is, but there was one venue pretty much that I can think of that would have actually live bands playing, and it's a huge culture shock to what it used to be. I remember there was a time when friends in the scene would get together and be like, oh no, shit, are we going to TC today? Are we going to Morrison? Or are we going to the Mez? Like, what are we doing? Like, because we have Them Clones playing there, and then we have
Superfast playing there.
Yeah,
and
Superfast playing there. Cyanide playing there. Who do we go to? And there was there was a huge scene, and it was amazing because it was the sense of community, and you would go into these shows, and I have gone to pretty much all these shows alone, all by myself, because I knew I would find people there that are buddies of mine, that are friends, and there was just this nice little circuit that we had going on, and I used to like that. I have a little surprise for you. I got this made specially for you.
Goodness. So for those of you who are wondering, what is this? Okay, there's a story. I had gone to Rohan's house once, and
you were interviewing me on your podcast.
Yeah, I was interviewing you on my podcast, and I remember, the people at his place had served me these cheese sandwiches, and oh my god, the first thing that comes to my mind, even before the music, is the cheese sandwiches when I think of Rohan.
Yeah, and I remember you telling me that story. So I'm like, okay, if I'm catching up with Ashish, I gotta, yeah. And it sucks that we're doing this virtually and you can't actually enjoy the sandwiches with me. But I just thought that would be a nice little anecdote and memory that we can have.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for that, man. So let's start from the very beginning, man. Tell us about how was your childhood like? What was school like?
Okay. No, I was in Delhi all throughout, right? So I went to modern school, Barakamba Road, and we started off in Humayun Road in the junior school, then we moved to Barakamba Road in the senior school, and I have always been intrigued by music. Like I wasn't a musician always, so I'm told I used to be obsessed with a song from the movie Masoom, Lakdi Ki Kathi.
Yeah.
I used to be obsessed with that song, like obsessed. Okay,
It was an awesome song, man.
Yeah.
I love that song too.
And then I remember we used to have an LP record player, and we had pretty much all these, American artists and one British artist, which was the Beatles. And we had records, like LP records of Michael Jackson. We had the Jackson 5, Chuck Berry, the Temptations, and then we had the Beatles, right? That was pretty much, that's kind of what my introduction to music was, like Jackson 5, ABC.
Wow.
And I think that, and the Beatles, that's why like I'm such a vocal oriented person, because these are all vocal groups. Even the Temptations, they're all vocal groups, right? Yeah, so I remember my foundation to music was, having people singing in harmony. And so that was always a part of just, something that I vibed with. And every time I would listen to music that didn't have that, it was all subconscious at that age, right? But I didn't vibe with stuff that didn't have that. Of course, my horizons grew as I grew older and stuff, and then you eventually get into Bryan Adams, especially when you have your first crush. You usually relate to a Bryan Adams song or a MLTR song. And then you go a little harder, you get into Guns N' Roses, got into Metallica, got into all kinds of metal, so I have different just phases of life. I mean, at somewhere down the line, one of my cousins just kind of taught me a couple of chords on the piano. I think he more than the chords, he taught me how to form chords. The concept of playing the guitar or singing. I was not born with a good voice. I really had to work on it, like constantly work on singing and improving your pitch and your just your control and dynamics and all that stuff, right? So I was not a very good singer back in the day, but I was writing, and there was a part of me that just started to enjoy those songs in a whole other way that I wasn't enjoying other people's songs. Maybe it was just the process, just the pride of, oh wow, like this came out of my head, man. I got addicted to that feeling. Is that a Mr. Big song? Oh no, Mr. Big song is Addicted to That Rush. But okay, I got addicted to that rush, right? I got addicted to that rush, and I think the first song that I wrote was a love song for this girl I had a crush on in school.
Was it the Random Gig Girl?
No, no. That came way, way, way later.
That is one of my favorite Rohan Solomon songs, by the way.
Cyanide songs. Yeah, that was a cool song. That song was about how you're on stage, and at that point the shows used to be packed, and we were in college, so there was a lot of college crowd there, like girls our ages and stuff. So you would spot a cute girl while you're on stage, and it's like you'd spot her at maybe during the show at some point, and you have this little eye connection going during a song, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is going down. And next thing you know, you get off stage and she's gone. So it's like, the song was about that. That, oh my God, like why can't you wait up after the show? That's why the pre-chorus goes, after the show, won't you wait up, baby girl? I want to know you a little better. I was just never about very clever lyrics and stuff. I was just about writing what I feel, and, either people vibe with it or they don't.
That's what I like about your songs, Rohan, like, because you know me, I've been doing the Indian Underground podcast since like the early 2000s, man. I've been, trying to promote the scene in my radio shows, podcasts. And what I like in particular about Rohan Solomon's songwriting is it's so simple and it just touches everybody, which is like almost like a popular music kind of thing, but somehow you do it to rock music, and I love that, man. I love that. That's so radio friendly.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so I mean, I'm so glad that you like it, man. I remember the first time I met you. I used to really look up to you, and it was after some show, and like I was in this really lame metal band for about a day, and we did like one show, and then we were outside someone's house, and I remember we didn't get paid. And I remember Joint Family also played the show that day, and like
Yes.
we didn't get paid for some reason. And I remember it was you and Clarence, God rest his soul. You were telling me that, dude, fuck it, let it go. This was your entry into the scene. Don't make enemies and don't do this. It's okay. Like there'll be a time when they're gonna chase you and all that stuff. And I remember, and Clarence was of the opposite. He's like, no, bro, you should go and get paid right now. So I remember weighing that, and it somehow like what you said just made more sense to me. That I'm like, oh man, I haven't really earned that spot yet where I can, go and be like, no, fuck it, no, pay me. It was like our first gig. I was nobody knew me in the scene. I didn't know anybody in the scene, and it was like I kind of took your advice, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's let it go. Fuck it. Yeah. I remember that. I remember that.
Till date, I actually, say that money isn't always like, the currency that you should be looking for, I mean, of course, money is important, but
Of course.
there's so much value in a lot of other things also, which, as an artist,
Yeah.
it's now with time that, like maybe you can look back now and understand what I said then. But at that time, like when people are young, a lot of people prioritize money, and it's very important to prioritize money, but money eventually does come, sooner or later.
Yeah. And I think you have to find your niche, man. Like, if you're not doing it, if you're not being able to make it being a live performing artist, don't lose hope. You got to find some other way to do it. Like take me, for example, like the scene changed, and, electronic music and DJs and stuff, that they became more of the popular scene. And it just makes sense. That's a natural part of life. What's considered to be popular changes from decade to decade. And there's nothing that anyone can do about it, no matter how much you like it or dislike it. You have to roll with the punches and just keep moving. Find something else that you like doing and you can kind of make your own. And I think that's what I did for myself, is when this whole live thing was not working, because, man, playing live shows became boring after a while, because I'm like, it was not the same as what it used to be, and I was just like, well, what's the point of coming here 6 hours earlier for sound check, and, like, for what? Like, 50, 60,000 rupees. Like, I just found the niche of, let's get into production. There's always going to be artists that need producers. And there's no dearth of producers. And the best part is that artists can always go to different producers for different flavors. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Getting even deeper, getting into mixing. Now I'm kind of getting into mastering as well, because I feel that's even a bigger niche. There's even less mastering engineers. And it was a cool story how I even got into that. So my friend Amit Thomas from the Junkyard Groove, he sent me the mixes for his EP, the one that they just put out. And he was like, oh, bro, like, I know you've been getting into mixing and stuff. So, I just like your feedback on it. I said, yeah, sure. They sounded great. I mean, I'm not trying to knock his mixes or anything like that. I mean, they were recorded really well. They were mixed really well. I gave him a few pointers here or there that, that maybe I would try a little differently. And he did those, and he loved those suggestions. So he just asked me, he's like, oh, bro, tell you what, let's take it a step forward. Why don't you master it for me? I'm like, oh, hang on. I'm not a mastering engineer. That's a whole other ball game. And, you need really, really powerful ears. You need a proper room. And, I have little analog gear, but like, it'd be cool to have some analog feel going into it. But he's like, oh, fuck it, man, just try. How does it matter? I said, okay. And I had a lot of fun mastering that. And those guys loved it by the end of it. And that EP just sounds great, man.
What was the name of the EP?
Oh, Head Above Water.
Head Above Water. So is it on the platforms right now?
Yeah. It's everywhere.
So for everybody who's watching, Head Above Water, Junkyard Groove, check it out. It's been mastered by Mr. Rohan Solomon.
I think there are 3 songs or 4 songs, and they sound great, man. And I found my niche. Touch wood, like, even though during this lockdown and stuff, like I have enough clients where I'm making good money. I have enough clients to be able to hire an assistant. So it's good, man. I have a lot of clients from the US. A lot of them are coming from social media, man. Social media is a platform that you can really use to get clients. If you just got to use it a little actively.
Because, right now, like I have all kinds of people coming on the podcast, Rohan, and I tell them that, no matter who you are, what you're doing, if you're not using the social, media, like Instagram in particular, also Facebook, of course, YouTube, TikTok is banned here now. Whatever social media you can use to sort of leverage your work, if you're not doing that, you're not doing it right.
No, absolutely. You have to be proactive. Use hashtags. I mean, for people who don't know, you can follow hashtags like you follow people. So if there are hashtags that you use on your pictures, follow them, because the chances are that they might be similar people or people that could complement your work or something like that, So
is there something in particular that you are doing with your social media that, is working for you, or something you've discovered which seems to get you the results?
I spend a decent amount of time in the day on social media, and those are work hours for me, because that's I consider that 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. we're doing business development. To me, that's business development, because I'm going into different hashtags and I'm legit watching people's videos and going through those hashtags, and if I land on something that I like, I do a very simple thing. There's 3 simple things, man. Like it, comment, and share. I don't care who the fuck you are. An artist is going to appreciate that. Man, we're all artists. Like, I mean, we all know this, man. Like, every artist likes it when somebody appreciates their song. Somebody appreciates their art. And I do it just out of pure appreciation for their music. And what I'm doing is that you form a network from somewhere over there. Keep commenting on their posts. You'll see that in turn, they'll start commenting on yours. They'll start keeping an eye on what you're doing. It's happened to me maybe 50% of the times that they would be like, I saw like a video you posted something about the song that you mixed. I really like that. I'm thinking of coming out with a new song. Like, do you think you might want to mix it or something? It's been 50% of the times where they kind of approach me for any kind of production or mixing or something like that. And it's also been times where I would approach them just being like, hey, man, I really dig your vibe. And I really think that this is my kind of stuff. And I think I can really do justice to this. I would be down to collaborate with you in some way, shape or form. Let me know. And what's the worst that'll happen? They'll say no. You move on.
3 simple things. Just go check out stuff you like. In case it inspires you, it strikes a chord, there's something that you can relate to it. Like, comment, share.
Yeah.
It just takes a single minute, not even that much.
Not even that. And the thing is, like, even let's reverse it. Not just for somebody that might help your business, maybe you can help their business somehow. And I think that's how you form a community. Like I mentioned, I miss that whole sense of community. You can build that now online. It only difference is that it can be anywhere in the world. It doesn't just have to be your city. It can be with anyone.
And these are, Rohan, some of the very subtle things that now we understand and appreciate. How much we have. We can now rely on people online, and we can find the same, associates that we would actually look for locally. Now we can look for them online. And I like what you said, man, about being there for other people as well, and not just it always being about your business or it just be about you taking. You should also sort of give back, man. That's pretty awesome.
Absolutely, man.
How did it happen that you formed your first band experiences, and tell us like some nice good old time stories about that time, man?
Well, it starts from school. I was in the 10th, I remember. And I was like always trying to get into the school band. For like, I think 2 years I was trying to get into the school band. I got rejected both years. Finally, when I came to the 10th, the school band was called Perfect Strangers. Then they took me in the band. I was the junior most. Everyone was senior to me. I think 3 other guys in the 11th, 1 guy in the 12th. When I joined, we used to rehearse at the drummer's place, obviously. I was just like, guys, man, Perfect Strangers was kind of like your band. That's kind of like what you started. Can we like change the name of the band? And then everyone was like, yeah, actually, yeah, this whole Perfect Strangers, this kind of been around for a while. And the guy that started it was not even in the band anymore. Everyone agreed to change the name. And hell and behold, the name got changed to Cyanide.
So Cyanide was actually the modern school band.
Yes, it was the modern school band. And then, so this was when I was in 10th. Then, I went to the 11th and 12th, and then it was still Cyanide. And then when it got done, when we left, went to college and everything, because we were all in the same class pretty much, I think, except for Shardul, he was junior. Then I remember we told the next generation after us that, hey, guys, call your band something else, man. Cyanide is with us. We're taking it and going. And then we started to take part in, inter-school competitions. Actually, the first one we did was Pepsi Storm. Oh, hang on. I have the trophy. This is the trophy.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Pepsi Storm. First prize winner, band category.
Oh my goodness.
Look at that. It's all rusted. Man. But this is the very first thing that Cyanide ever won. I still have this.
This is awesome, bro.
Yeah,
amazing.
It was in 2002.
Wow.
It's 19 years. Holy shit.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, man. So we did that. And then we were, we went to college, and then we were taking part in all these college festivals. Like there was HD Youth Nexus. And then there was, God, I can't even remember now. There was, all these colleges just had competitions. We used to go, Amity had one, this one had one, that one had one. We used to keep taking part in those. And that's how we started to build this community, because we would meet the same bands. Most of the audience were other musicians. So then what happened? Then we took it a step further. We started to figure out that there is a thing known as GIR. And I was just like blown away, man. I was like, whoa, are you kidding me? Like, that's like, I want to play on this stage, like that was like a thing. Like, I want to play on this stage. Man, I remember that feeling so clearly. We found out it's a company called RSJ, Rock Street Journal. And then we found out, oh, that's a magazine as well. We're like, oh my God, where's their office? Who owns RSJ? Like, where are these? So we started to track down RSJ shows. Like, we didn't know anyone in the scene, none of us. And somehow we found the office of RSJ, and we had this little demo CD of like 3 songs. Horribly recorded and horribly mixed and horribly performed, but we just still went there, and we would land up unannounced. And at that time, Sam Lal used to work there. So finally we got a meeting with Amit, and he was like, "Okay, guys, come on in, sit. You guys want some coffee? You guys want because we just kept going, because we're like, no, please give us a show, please give us a show, please give us a show." And first they weren't really entertaining us, but then we were like, guys, please trust me. I'm like, I know the recording sucks, but just put us on stage. Like, we sound good. Like, trust me, we perform better than we do sound on this record. And he finally gave us a show. We were opening for Orange Street, I remember. It was in Ashoka Hotel, Capital.
Yeah.
Venue called Capital. Yeah, we were performing for Orange Street. And I remember that was like our first actual gig, like that's not a part of like a competition. It was like a gig. And we're the opening act. We're like, wow, we're the opening act, man. Yeah.
Finally the rock star dream is happening. Finally.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I remember, so there was a little backstage, little back room area type of thing where there were couches and stuff. So for one song, I remember I stepped away because we had a female singer that came and sang a few songs. So I took a little break and I was chilling. And this one girl walks in, and all of Orange Street are sitting next to them, but I'm not talking to them. They're not talking to me because they're like, who the fuck is he, right? Yeah. So I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just sitting there. And some girl walks in and she tells one of the Orange Street guys, yo, these guys suck so bad. And I remember my heart just like sank, man. I was like, what? Like, we're putting our heart and soul into this. Are you kidding me? But I think by the end of it, man, we got the crowd going. We did Breakdown by Tantric, and then we did Until the Day I Die by Story of the Year. And man, when story until the day I die, spill my heart for. When that part comes, it's like we just went nuts. And then the crowd was going nuts. And I just said, no holds barred, man. I'm going to go right into the crowd. I'm going to put the mic right in front of them. And I'm just going to. And somehow they started to vibe off that. And I don't know. I took all that negative energy from backstage, hearing some pretty girl saying that we suck, and just bringing it on stage and being like, fuck you. We don't suck. So I remember being so scared. And, after the show, I went to Amit. I'm like, please don't judge us based on this show. He's like, are you kidding me? Those last two songs killed. You guys want to play more? Like, I have a couple of more dates coming up. I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, hell yeah. Then we opened up a Parikrama, Them Clones, God knows who all. So that's kind of where it started. And then you keep doing those shows until you finally get your own headlining show. I remember, I think the peak of it was Launchpad, 2007 Launchpad. And then after Launchpad, the peak for us was, I think, 2008 to 2009. So we played GIR 2 years, 2008 and 2009. And I remember, man, that was I think the peak of it. I think after that, it all kind of started to fizzle out. But Launchpad gave us a huge boost, man. And like I remember our shows being packed in cities we'd never been to, man, like Hyderabad, fucking Shimla. Like Shimla was crazy. Absolutely crazy, man. Like we were playing at this little place that was suspended on a hill. And the floor was like moving like that. And if the floor broke, you fell down into the valley.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was like dangerous. I remember, so the bouncers had to come and cordon off that area and had to keep the crowd in the back. And it's just a weird feeling of like I'd never experienced things like, somebody coming up to me and wanting a picture with me or anything like that. I was like, why? Why do you want a picture with me? But that day in Shimla, man, we couldn't get to the bar for an hour because we'd take 2 steps and somebody else would want a picture with us, or 2 steps and somebody else would come and do something or say something, and like you just like, oh man, that was amazing, and this and that, and like that was like a huge turning point when we were like, wow, okay. Somebody requested a song called Lucid Dreams, which is one of our songs, which we'd never released. It was an unreleased song that somebody had heard somehow, and somebody released that. So it was like a cult following,
Wow.
That feeling was amazing, man. When people are singing to lyrics of a song that you wrote one night when, you were having insomnia, you couldn't sleep, sat down and you wrote a song. A year later, a room full of like 300 people fucking chanting the chorus to that song. It's amazing. Like I'm addicted to that rush. You know what I mean?
So all this was happening, and what happened next in your life, like after all this?
Well, so the scene obviously took a turn and it took a change, and I needed to make a change for myself. I was honestly, I think touring was taking its toll on me, just physically and mentally and emotionally. It was just too much, too much effort for just the rewards were declining hugely.
Correct.
I'm like, fuck, it's not worth it anymore. And just being out in different cities for a while, and you're, with the same group of people, and then, there's always little frictions that happen between people. And I'm like, like these are my brothers, man. Like I don't want any kind of friction with them. I think I just got tired of it all. And I was somehow just the feeling of being inside a studio was exciting to me. And it still is to this day. Like I love being in the studio, and I love making songs in the studio. That's what excites me now. I love the feeling of hearing a great mix or getting a text from a client being like, man, that mix made me cry, or something like that. And that's what I vibe off of now. Is I'm still a storyteller, but I'm facilitating to not just tell my own stories, but I'm also now facilitating to tell other people's stories,
Tell us about, pre you deciding to go to New York. What was happening and what sort of facilitated that thing to happen?
Like I said, the whole scene changed, and I was like, I'm not enjoying playing live anymore. So that was a huge factor but of course, I'm still a musician and artist at heart. Like, I have to be doing music in some shape, right? I just hadn't figured out what yet. My buddy Sid Mathur calls me And he goes like, "Hey, Rohan, man, I have this project that's come to me, and based on the description of it, I could think of nobody else but you to partner with me on this project." I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Well, what are we doing?" He's like, "Oh, we're basically producing a musical." I said, "But I don't know anything about production." I mean, I knew about production as to just to the extent of what all I'd learned from the producers that I'd worked with. But I mean, I'm like, I don't know how to operate Cubase or Logic or any of those things. I said, I've never even heard of Pro Tools, right? But he's like, no, 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 don't worry. He's like, that's on me. I'll do that. I need you to come up with melodies and I need you to sing, because it's all pre-recorded musical and I need your voice to be like the voice of the main character, who basically was singing pretty much every song. So I'm like, oh, okay, that I can do. And then he's like, and then we have to do ID sounds and that type of stuff and different. So we were in that show for an entire year in rehearsal, because the script would keep changing, and so would our ID sounds. And so would the songs and that type of stuff. There were a bunch of songs that got cut. But it was a whole year of just being in the studio every single day. We were in Quarter Note Studios every single day. And I was like, man, I love this. I'm like, yeah, it was the feeling of being excited about music again, which I was losing from playing shows. I'd lost that excitement, and just being in the studio doing this project. And there was something really liberating about it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can kind of do anything. I kind of, again, felt a little limited, a little constricted, because I'm like, shit, man, I'm like totally dependent on Sid now for actually doing the software part of things and the technical side of things. I'm like, geez, I don't know one microphone from the other. Like, what's going through his head when he chooses a microphone? And like, what is he doing with this Cubase? And what is all this? What's a crossfade? I was like, oh, I don't get this. So I'm like, I need to learn this. I looked into, a couple of programs in New York. I'd always wanted to live in New York. It's been like one of my favorite cities, just because, like I told you, I grew up listening to a lot of vocal groups. And the closest thing to that is like show tunes, Broadway. And, I had a few favorites that I had seen. I'd seen a few shows on vacation, and I'm like, man, I want to see them all. And I'm like, oh, there's no other place that I'd rather go to than New York. So I went there and never regretted that decision. It was the best decision of my life. I was able to work and climb my way up into one of the biggest studios in the city. I started off as a student, then went on to be an intern, a GA, which is like a mid-level management position, and then got a position created for me called production manager. So I became a manager over there. And in that time, I was engineering as well. So, I just engineered a lot of amazing people, worked on a Grammy-winning song, which I would have never been able to do if I hadn't gone there, right?
So which was this school? And I'd also like to ask, I'm pretty sure you must have had a few places in mind, and then you sort of narrowed in on one.
So I had SAE in mind. It was super expensive, though. And it kind of had like a classroom environment, even though it had a studio, but it was just a little more structured, which I didn't like somehow. And then there was IAR, which I believe has now shut down. IAR has shut down. Then there was the Recording Connection. The Recording Connection is kind of what jived with me the best, because it was like, oh, hang on, wait a second. So they don't have a campus. They basically assign you to some studio, and you're basically being taught by a fully practicing Grammy-winning engineer. Like, that's what I want to go. I'm like, yes, that's who I want to learn from. I went into Engine Room for an interview, and they had a couple of more interviews lined up at other studios. And when I was done with the interview, I called up the guy, and I'm like, I thought it went well. And I'm like, fuck, that studio is amazing, man. Like, holy shit. I'm like, you're saying I can actually go to school there and like be there all the time? They're like, yep. And then I was like, well, what about the other studios? Don't you think I should see them as well? They're like, trust me, man, they aren't like this one. This is the one you want to be at. So I said, okay, fuck it. So I went and I did that, and it was just, it was amazing. And it's a flexible program. So I could choose to, either finish the program in 6 months or a year. And I chose to finish it in a year. Not that I couldn't finish it in 6 months, because I just wanted the extra time over there to be there and be around those people. They call you other than your theoretical classes, they call you for observation classes. So suppose somebody is recording drums one day. They'll send out an email to all the students. Hey, we're doing a session. One of our in-house engineers is recording drums. And why don't you come by and he'll teach you all about the microphones he's using and what are the preamps that he's using and why he's placing the microphones like that, and learn about drums. Another day it'll be like a mixing session. You can watch somebody mix and stuff. So I just thought that watching real people do it with real projects was better than a hypothetical project in school. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, production is a, sort of hands-on practical experience thing, which you either do and understand, or you can imagine as much as you want, but it will not be a real life thing.
True. And one of the biggest things that they do not teach you in school, how to deal with clients. And because of this program, obviously we could only come if the clients were okay with us being there in the thing, right? And usually they would be, because like the studio would offer the clients a little discounted rate if they allow students to come. So the clients were like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't give a shit. Yeah, let them come. As long as they're quiet, they don't like disturb the session, which of course we were never allowed to. Even all our questions had to wait until the session was done. We had to sit there with notebooks, write down all our questions, and when the session's done, the engineer would stay back to answer all the questions, right? So yeah, you really got to be in the room and got to see how he deals with clients and how he deals with sometimes difficult clients, and like how you have to deal with them in a nice way. You can't be getting all pissed off and aggressive with, it doesn't work that way.
So that must have been great, man, to be there and, in that environment, sort of hands-on doing all these things.
Oh, yeah. Totally, man. The amount I learned there is just phenomenal.
Super, man. So you went to this amazing place, Recording Connection. You spent about a year there, right? Approximately a year?
Well, I spent 4 years there, but like 1 year was just a student. And then I was an intern, then I was a GA, and then I was a production manager for the rest of the time. And then I became a teacher. I started to teach there. I started to teach Recording Connection students. And by the end of it, I became the student coordinator. So I was production manager and student coordinator.
So it was kind of like you spent a lot of money on the 1 year that you learned. And then you also kind of made some of it back by working and adding on to your experience.
Especially as a GA, man, like, it was one of the toughest jobs, but we always did get kind of first right of refusal for sessions. Like the normal sessions that would come in, not like huge label artists and stuff, but sometimes label artists also, just somebody's coming in for a podcast or something. I'd recorded so many podcasts. So many. I was the podcast guy for a while, a whole year.
So tell us about, some of the experiences that you had, kind of working your way up all these different positions.
There was actually an Indian guy who was the operations manager over there. And I met him when I was a student. I think it was my second or third day as a student. And I was at the coffee machine. I was waiting for a fresh pot of coffee to be made. And he came because he wanted coffee as well. So I just, obviously saw another Indian dude standing right next to me. So I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? So we started to talk. And he told me that he's from Cochin. He had lived he'd lived out of India most of his life, but he'd lived in India for about 4 or 5 years or something. And he kind of got into some Indian bands. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, well, can you name some of those bands? Because maybe I'm friends with them. And he named a few bands, including Cyanide.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that was like, I'm like, wait a second, what? I said, that's my band, right? So immediately we had a connect right there. So we had a mutual respect right there. So obviously right from that point, he knew that, okay, this student means business. He's not just here to fuck around. He means business. And the thing is, while I was a student, I became friends with him, kind of, right? And we're extremely close today. We're best friends. We became roommates by the end of it. And even now, all my stuff is at his apartment in New Jersey. So we're best friends today. We're business partners today. We started this brand Synergy Audio Productions together. So but at that point, he was just like the operations manager. So I used to stay back even when I was a student, and flowed in even when I became an intern. When I used to basically go like, "Oh, dude, like, man, are you doing anything in the studio? Can I like watch and learn, and I'll help out or whatever?" So he would go like, "Yeah, man, I'm recording drums or I'm recording guitars or I'm doing something. I'm working on my album or doing something." Or he's just fucking around trying different miking techniques for drums. And there was a third Indian guy there who was a drummer. So he used to get that dude to play the drums and he used to do all the engineering stuff. And I was just there like a fly in the wall, man, just like learning, asking questions. And this would be like late at night, like going on till 5 in the morning types.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was just amazing, man, that you just had all this opportunity to just be there and just learn all this stuff. So it's just unreal, just the feeling of being there and being able to do all that stuff. So he knew that I was serious, hence I proved myself every step of the way.
And Rohan, also tell us about like some of the experiences you had, recording some like, well-known people, and what was the work ethic that kind of you observed and some of that experience.
I think the first thing about the work ethic is that you're not allowed to be a fan. You have to be professional. Like you can't be asking for selfies and you can't be doing any of that shit. If they want to take a picture, by the end of it, suppose if they're taking a picture with the whole team or something, yeah, maybe then you can be like, "Oh, hey, like, is it cool if I get a picture with you as well, just to document, the session?" That's fine. But maybe at the end of the session, So that was one thing. Like, look, please don't be a fan, because they are here to escape from that. They're here to, basically be in the studio. So I think the very first big artist that I worked with was a rapper called Immortal Technique. He's like a huge in the independent scene, extremely like famous and well known. Like all the interns were like huge fans of his. And I've never been that into rap, so I had no idea who he is. I had to Google him and like kind of see like who is he and all that stuff. And man, like I remember I had done a few sessions with like some unknown rappers from Brooklyn who came late at night with their, a bunch of people, like 15, 20 people. They would come in with their, their alcohol and their weed and everything. And it was like a party. That's what I expected this to be. But no, this dude showed up in the daytime, all prepared, absolutely sober and all alone. And he's like, "Hey,
Whoa.
He's like, "Hey, how's it going, man? Is everything set up? Is everything good?" "Yeah, everything's good. Let's go." We recorded for 4 days back to back, and then on the 5th day, he's like, "Hey, so I think we did 4 songs, and then on the 5th day, he's like, I am getting a bassist because I want live bass on all the songs. So this guy's good. He'll knock out all the 4 songs in one sitting, no problem." Like, yeah, cool. And it's crazy. I'm actually producing an album for that bassist today.
Wow.
See how like it comes back, right? So anyhow, I think that was the first like big client that I worked with. Then I worked with Anderson .Paak on the song that he won the Grammy for. And I was the assistant engineer on that. And I remember there was a whole lot of troubleshooting. So especially with analog gear and especially with, just large format studios where there's just a lot of equipment, there's a lot that also goes wrong.
Yes.
So there was just, there was about 2 hours of troubleshooting. We were just not getting signal on the microphone. And I remember we dragged the drum set down for him to play. And by the end of it, he's like, "Well, I'm recording vocals today." So we're like, "Oh, okay." So we set up the microphone for vocals. I mean, we got it done. There's a funny little anecdote to that particular session. In that particular studio, I'm not going to take names, but in that particular studio that we were in, they are not allowed. They don't allow any smoking or of any kind, because a lot of kids, like some child actors, come there to that studio. And so the parents of the child actors were like, no, it's not going to work. We can't have any of this stuff going on. So like, you're absolutely not allowed to smoke in that studio, right? So this dude is in there and he lit up a blazing joint. And, me and the engineer, the head engineer, we looked at each other. We're like, okay, it's not allowed in here. So he tells him, "Hey man, we're actually not allowed to do that in this room. We have a smoke room in the back, like and he just like takes a puff of his thing. He's like, oh shit, that's too bad, bro. But anyhow, the session went off smooth, but then we had to like use exhaust and air fresheners and just make sure that the entire room is spick and span, just so that they don't have to check the cameras in the morning about anything that was going on in the room. And till date,
nothing happened.
No, nothing happened. It's all good. Some cool stories that have happened there, but every single session you learn so much. I think
yes.
I was always learning something new, like every single session, man.
What was next on your agenda? Were you planning to stay there? Were you planning to come back?
Well, I was kind of going with the flow. I think essentially I wanted to have a setup where I can be in both places, like maybe do 3 months here and 3 months there. And honestly, that's still the plan. But COVID has obviously put, kind of a full stop or a comma, I should say, in that plan. It's put a little bit of a speed bump. But, I'm still in touch with, and I'm still actively working with so many artists from there that, I definitely would like to be able to go there and actually work with them face to face, because then there's a lot of networking that also goes on over there. Like you work with them and then maybe they're going to a party, and I'm friends with a lot of these artists, right? Before we started working together, like I told you about that thing on Instagram, you connect with people and you just kind of, you offer friendship. And if that leads to something professional, that's cool. If not, then hey, you can always be friends with another musician, right? Because we're all musicians at the end of the day. So, we would go out for parties or whatever, and, you meet somebody there, you meet another musician or something. And, there's always ways to expand that network. And that's a little difficult to do when you're here. But I'm very happy that I'm back. I'm very happy that I have this setup. Honestly, it's been my lifesaver during COVID.
And then tell us a little bit about, this studio, how it got made, where is it located, and
also, this is in my house. This is the home studio for now. It's about 10 steps away from my bedroom. And it's literally like what you see is everything's in the frame. Maybe except for just the side wall over here and the side wall over there. But pretty much everything's, it's just a square room. The most recent addition was this new desk where I've hardwired some analog gear into a freshly made patch bay. So, I can finally use all this analog gear and I don't have to keep taking it out of the box and plugging in XLR cables from the back. Now, because of the patch bay, I can just patch things through and it just makes life very, very easy.
Is this a single room or is there a recording room as well separate to this?
No, this is a single room. This is a single room for now. The acoustics are done in a way that it just sounds good for recording, even where you are. The only problem is that it's not soundproof. So, so I choose to do the recording with microphones part of the day, post lunch, because all the staff in the house, my parents go to their room, they'll take a nap. The staff in the house, they also go and they rest for like 3-4 hours and they take a nap. So that's my window, and the whole house is quiet then. That's my window. Or if I have to do it during a different part of the day, I'll do something loud like electric guitars through like my amp with microphones. Then they could be a bulldozer downstairs and it won't matter. Yeah, but it sounds really good. It just acoustically sounds great.
But you're not going to record drums here, right? Obviously.
No.
Probably
so
not.
I'm in the no, man. So I was in the process of building a bigger studio, which would eventually also be my school. So, but twice it's happened that it's been under construction and we got hit with a bad wave of COVID. We had to stop. And actually, the engineer that was working on the studio actually died yesterday because of COVID. Yeah. So it's, so obviously that's it's extremely sad. It slowed the process down. It brought the process to a halt actually right now. So, no, as of now, this is it. This is pretty much it.
So this is this in Golf Links or where is this exactly? Okay.
Yeah, this is the farmhouse in Dwarka.
For whoever is, watching this, if you want to eventually get in touch with, Rohan and get some stuff recorded, Dwarka Synergy Audio?
Synergy Audio Productions. Yeah.
Synergy Audio Productions is where you can get in touch with him and get your work done. Tell me, Rohan, how are you sort of coping with this current COVID situation? How has it affected you?
It's not affected me physically, thank God, but it's definitely affecting me, mentally and emotionally. I personally lost a few people in the last couple of weeks, which has been hard. And it's just extremely scary. I'm very glad that I have this space that's kind of like my escape from the world. Like I can just be here and kind of forget about what's going on and just be here. Mixing has been extremely therapeutic for me. Like I feel even as of now, even more than making music or anything, as of now, just mixing stuff has been extremely therapeutic because I can just I get so lost in that world. But no, man, I mean, it's been hard. What about you? I hope everything's okay with you and your family.
I've been fine. Both my parents are in their 80s. They're hale and hearty. They're good. They've got their first jab. I haven't gotten the vaccine till now. I'm just kind of on the wall about whether I want to have it or not. I'm taking my time researching it. And I think eventually I will probably go in for it. Have you sort of made a decision about the vaccine?
Yes, I haven't got it yet. I'm also waiting, but I think I'm waiting for different reasons. I'm just waiting for just this huge wave to just come down a bit, man.
Right. So just like you, this is my studio. I don't know if you can see it, but but it's also kind of like the same. It's a big rectangle, and because I'm in a DDA flat, man. I'm I'm in a flat. It's not an independent house. Yeah. And I'm on the first floor. So how I'm recording the drums is I have a Roland TD kit. So I'm hooking that up with Superior drums, and
Superior drummer. Nice.
Yeah. So that's a good solution. I have almost all their packs or whatever it is.
Do you play? I never knew that you played drums.
No, I don't. I don't play drums at all, as a matter of fact. But I do record, mix, and master music for independent artists.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's probably not as elaborate as your setup or whatever, but
no, I mean, my setup's pretty small, dude. Like, I mean, just the analog gear that's here is not in the frame.
Yeah.
But I've got some over here. But other than that, it's pretty. Main thing is I think the room sounds good.
Yeah.
So there are certain spots where vocal sounds good. There's certain spots where acoustic guitar. So I've found my sweet spot. In the room. So I'm always recording acoustic guitar from the same.
So how this how it happened was, I was recording some of my own just independent stuff, and then people kept coming and wanting to record some stuff, and I helped out a couple of friends, and they started paying me for it. So whatever I have learned is out of first-hand experience. I've not really gone to any school as such, nice. But I have so my albums, my band's album. A few more artists, so that was happening before I went to Muscat. So I was in Muscat, Oman for about a year and a half. 2 years. I was doing a breakfast show, and I was the radio station's music manager there. I was working with Times Group. So when I went there, this was kind of left halfway, but now I'm back. But of course, COVID is there, so there's no recording or anything happening, man. It's just...
Yeah.
But my band's half the album is left, and we did 4 tracks, and then I had to leave. So my band was like, "What the fuck?"
Wait, so how would you deal with that situation now? In COVID, you can't really be recording, can't really have people over to your house.
Right. I mean, so this is a time where what I'm propagating and what I'm telling everybody is that even if you're a singer, even if you're a guitar player, get yourself at least a basic audio interface. Become someone who can provide the same services online.
Yeah.
So I'm collaborating with a lot of people. So I have the setup going. It's called Multiple Implications. It's basically musicians in different parts of the world, and we kind of like the same alternative grunge, late 90s, early 2000s sound, and we are doing cover songs. So the drummer is in the Philippines. The bassist is also in the Philippines. The guitarist is in Canada. There's somebody in Oman. I'm in India. So we're taking out covers, and we're just performing like that, because I don't want to get out of that zone where I get out of practice or I get rusty with my vocals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's what I'm encouraging people to do. I'm encouraging them to understand basic DAWs. If you're on a Windows platform, there is Studio One. If you're on a Mac platform, there's always GarageBand. Or if you want to upgrade to Logic, educate yourself. Get yourself in a situation where, say, in case tomorrow you can't ever perform live, you can do something online. You can associate with
Absolutely.
people. You can generate work, and as Rohan rightly said that. Please use your social networks to leverage your work, whatever it is, whether you're a mix engineer, whether you're a performer, and don't be afraid to associate with people.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask people for help. I mean, I've noticed usually audio engineers, they're usually willing to help out other people that are starting out and that are trying to learn. Or at least I've been very fortunate to have been subject to such people that had no reason to help me at all, but just took out time from their day to sit with me and teach me stuff. And I try to do the same thing for people that are starting out now. I try to do the same thing, and just like, I think that's what my podcast was mainly about, is to because I have students. And then they would ask me certain stuff, and I'm like, man, we had like a half an hour long conversation about this topic on the last episode, or the last phone call I did with my friend, and I'm like, oh man, maybe I should record those conversations,
yes,
and put them out. Yeah, so that's what the
so tell us a little bit about your podcast, man, because
so it's called In the Box. It started off as a YouTube channel. It still is a YouTube channel where I was doing plugin reviews and plugin demos and that type of stuff. And then it just, I got a little busy with teaching and with, projects and stuff. So I didn't have that much time to put out, be very regular with my videos. But then I thought this podcast thing is a cool thing that the students can kind of learn from just by those conversations, being in the room. Yeah, so it's a podcast about audio engineering, production, music in general. Yeah, just a little more focused towards the production side of things.
Yeah. So for all of you who are interested in getting to know more about that, you can follow the podcast. It's called In the Box.
Yeah. Well, so on Instagram, it's In the Box Pod, and mine is just Rohan Solomon. So those are the best ways to kind of just reach out if you want to, be in touch or whatever. That's usually the best way to see what's up.
Rohan, again, man, thank you so much for your time.
Dude, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. Yeah.
You're a very enterprising guy. You were into music. You were into writing songs. You learned production. You went all the way to New York to get your education. You're back now, and you're trying to do something great and exciting here. You're trying to up the game for so many bedroom producers. And you're not just willing to do your thing, you're also wanting the scene to get better. You're willing to contribute and help out people, whoever wants to get in touch with you. I think that makes you unique, bro. And I've always loved your singing and your songwriting.
Thank you. I loved yours.
And I hope that besides all this production work that you're doing, I get to hear more Rohan Solomon music.
Well, oh my God! How did I not mention this? I have a new single coming out on the 19th of May. So,
all right.
Yeah,
that is amazing, man. And and you always know that you can email me all your music. And I'm going to play it on the radio.
Oh yeah, thank you.
I'm going to play it online. I'm going to talk about it on my social media, and I've been doing this for like 2 decades now. So.
Nice.
Anytime you want that, and anybody else watching this as well, I'm probably like one of the very few people who still, somehow finds a way to like sneak in those songs and play it on national radio.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate that. It's called We Demand Change. The title is very self-explanatory. It's just written out of sheer frustration, the situation of the world right now. And it's a song that is pleading the world to stop violence, stop racism, to stop corruption, to stop stupidity, and it's just something in the system needs to change. But yeah, man, thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much for being on the Ashish David Show.
Dude, I always love it. I love catching up with you. And yeah, it's been fun.
Thank you, bro. I hope whenever we catch up next, Rohan, you have a bunch of more stories to tell me. Till then,
I hope so.
Enjoy yourself, man, and
All right.
I shall see you
Take care.
later.
Take care, buddy. Take it easy.